Leafs Nation, it has been a long time. I have not talked to you guys in quite some time here. And the last 24, 48 hours for the Toronto Maple Leafs has been crazy. And with a lot of news breaking over the last, 12 hours or so, we've been hearing things like Kapanen's getting close to a 3-year deal, Johnsson's getting close to a 4-year deal, and Patrick Marleau has been traded to the Carolina Hurricanes. As you guys can tell from the title, that's what we're here to talk about, those three things that I just mentioned. And we're going to start right out of the gate with what we heard earlier on today. Patrick Marleau has been traded to the Carolina Hurricanes in exchange for a 6th-round pick. Now, what else goes back to Carolina? It's a conditional 1st-round pick and a 7th-round pick. All the picks that were traded in that deal are for next year's draft, the 2020 draft. Now, the condition on the Patrick Marleau 1st-round pick, all right? So, they will get they will get the 2020 1st-round pick unless it's top 10, in which case Carolina will get the Leafs 2021 1st-round pick. So basically, the Leafs are going to give up their 1st-round pick for next year. However, if things go awry and things just all out don't work out, and the Leafs end up in the bottom 10 in the league, they keep that 1st-round pick and it turns into a 2021 pick. Listen, guys. Everyone is going to look at this trade and see a Patrick Marleau, a 16-goal scorer last year, a conditional 1st-round pick, which is probably going to be a 1st-rounder, and then a 7th-round pick, and you only got a 6th back. Everyone's going to flip. But you got to realize what they're doing here. First off, the Leafs did not have to retain any of the $6.25 million of Patrick Marleau. None of it. Now, yes, you had to give up a conditional 1st-round pick. Oh, well, it's going to be a late 1st again next year as well, so who cares? And a 7th, that's meaningless. And you got a 6th back, whatever. Everyone's freaking because they see that conditional 1st. I get it. But trading that conditional 1st could be the difference between signing Marner and letting him go. Now, we don't know the money-wise what the heck's going on with him, and I'm not even going to get into that stuff. But is it a good trade? Look, I think time is going to tell, really, when it comes to that. But bottom line, you freed up $6.25 million in cap space and did not have to trade anybody significant, as well as you didn't have to retain any of Patrick Marleau's $6.25 million. That is massive. Now, would I have liked something back? Of course. But for the Leafs to shed that $6.25 million without retaining, that's probably what they had to do. All right? And you know what? Does it suck losing a 1st-round pick for next year again? Yeah, it does. But again, do the Leafs really need any more draft picks? I don't really know if they do or not. You know, look at the way this team is built, and they're very deep in the front end. We all know that. And in the back end, there's still question marks. And obviously, that's going to be addressed in free agency and via the trade market, obviously. But with this $6.25 million, before July 1st, it frees up so much room and it's a lot less stressful than having Patrick Marleau going past July 1st, then trying to move him, then it allows the Leafs to have that little cushion going into free agency. Now, ideally, there's no real cushion when you have Mitch Marner begging for what he's begging for. So I don't really know. Like I said, we're not going to get into the whole Mitch Marner sweepstakes mumbo jumbo. But we're going to move on from this trade from Patrick Marleau because, I mean, look, I loved Patty. He was the grizzled vet that we all loved, and he was a consistent 20-goal scorer for this team. We had a feeling this time would come, though. When he signed the 3-year deal, we were all like, well, 2 sounds okay, but that extra year at the end sounds a little iffy. And we're all like, well, they front-loaded the first 2 years of the contract, so what they're probably going to do is play the 2 years out, and then in the 3rd year, when everybody needs to sign contracts, they move him. And that's exactly what's happening right now. I loved Patrick Marleau. He was obviously the veteran, the guy that needs to show these youngsters how the ways of the NHL, really. And you saw with Matthews and Marner, that you saw how much of an impact he made on those two guys, at least those two guys. They were like his other kids. And for them to lose basically another father, it's hard. It really is. Now, it is the business, and I'm pretty sure they saw this thing coming once the contract even got signed, or, even last year they probably saw it coming. But still, when it becomes a reality, it's really hard to adjust to it. Excuse me, guys. So let's move on from that. Because we were hearing not so long after the Marleau trade, probably an hour or so after the trade, the Leafs and Kasperi Kapanen are nearing a deal for a 3-year, it's between $3.25 and $3.4 million, $3.4 million per season. And I'm thinking to myself, that is really good. I mean, we're looking at Kadri at 4.5, and he's about a 50, 60-point guy. You're looking at Kasperi Kapanen, who just put up his best year yet for the Leafs, 20-goal scorer. He put up what? Did he put up 50 points? I don't know, something along those lines. And he's making basically Connor Brown money. Maybe more like Zach Hyman money, let's put it that way. And I'd take that flipping contract in a heartbeat from Kasperi Kapanen. Now, it sounds like it's a done deal. It's just waiting some things. So that's why I'm talking about it now. So I can get this video out to you guys instead of having to make some separate videos on it. But if they can get Kasperi Kapanen locked up for $3.2 to $3.5 million, and we were also hearing that the Leafs were closing in on a 4-year extension on Andreas Johnsson, worth $3.25 to $3.5 million. I think heading into the offseason, if you asked every single Leaf fan, what would you expect those contracts to look like? We were all probably talking in the ballparks of the $4 million range, because these guys are 40, 50-point guys. They've proven to be good for this team all year long. And I think with the real big dip-off for Kasperi Kapanen near the end of the season, he had 19 goals for the longest time. Then he finally got his 20th, but it took him so long to get it. I don't know if that does anything. I don't know if it's definitely a team-friendly cap. Definitely. And I'm assuming he's going to be locked up sometime soon here. Darren Dreger, by the way, posted the whole Andreas Johnsson bit there, so just a heads up that you want some confirmation. Go check him out, Darren Dreger on Twitter. He's the one that posted the Leafs closing on the 4-year deal with Andreas Johnsson. So let's say those two guys sign for that type of cash. Let's lowball it, all right? So they both get 3.2, let's say. You guys can do the math. That's 6.4. Now you look at that Patrick Marleau trade, and you say, well, he was making 6.25. That almost paid for both these guys' contracts. Just Patrick Marleau. Meanwhile, the Leafs are still trying to trade Nikita Zaitsev. They're still trying to move his stupid contract. They're still thinking about Nazem Kadri and Connor Brown and guys like that so you know what? You guys look at it. Have you been hearing any William Nylander stuff? No. You know why? He's not going anywhere. No one can get that through their head that he's just not going to go anywhere. The Leafs have the core of Matthews, Nylander, Marner for right now, Tavares, Zach Hyman, and those are the guys they look at as the cornerstones for the future. And that nobody really talked about William Nylander, and then the contract got signed. He had a slow start to the year and all that crazy stuff, and everyone wanted his head, and it was just it's awful. Because next year, I'm banking on Nylander to put up a damn good season. You know why? He's actually going to get training camp. He's actually going to get preseason games, and he's going to start the regular season on time. I mean, health-wise, assuming everything's okay. So, you know what? Everyone bashes Kyle Dubas lately for the whole Nylander contract and the way the Mitch Marner stuff's going. But we heard the Leafs offered him 8 years at $11 million. And he said no. What does that tell you, Leaf fans? Either he just doesn't want as much term, which if that's the case, I'd kind of just make him happy and say, hey, yeah, fine, take the 5 years with Austin, whatever. But if he wants more money than $11 million a year, I don't know if the Leafs are willing to pay that. And once July 1st hits and the offer sheets start flying in, $12, $13 million from teams like Arizona and whatnot, what do the Leafs do? I said I wouldn't mention Mitch Marner, but it all kind of ties together. So, if you're the Leafs now, and let's say Arizona's a team. I know we all talked about that because of Austin Matthews, but let's just say it as a team. They offer him 13. What do the Leafs do? And not every fan is going to be happy with the decision, because you guys know what you're going to hear. They signed him to 13. Well, he's way overpaid. What the heck's Kyle Dubas doing? Now the Leafs are in absolute cap hell. They don't sign him. Well, they let one of the best players in the league go now, so way to go, Kyle Dubas. So no matter what happens, they're going to get scrutinized. Now, there's also that other option of, well, if you let him go, if I'm not mistaken, the return is something like a pretty good prospect and like 3 or 4 first-round picks or something stupid like that. If you're the Leafs and he's asking for a ludicrous amount of money that you can't pay him, do you let that happen? I don't know. Lots of question marks that will be answered very soon. Within the next few weeks or so, it's going to be a crazy next few weeks for sports in general. You got the Raptors looking at Kawhi Leonard and what the heck's going to happen with him come June 30th. July 1st, what the heck's going to happen with Mitch Marner, what the Leafs going to do in free agency. The beginning of July and the middle of July are going to be absolute mayhem for Toronto sports. Not to mention the Blue Jays suck, so it's just a miserable time for them. But for Toronto sports, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be absolutely exciting, but crazy. All right, so I'm not going to do a video, guys, once the Kapanen and Johnsson signings are confirmed and they're official. The reason being because we're talking about it here, and that's just that. But if they can lock up a guy like Kasperi Kapanen for that cheap, for 3 years, that's nice. And Johnsson for 4 years at around the same amount of money? Yes, please! Because then you have Nylander signed long-term. You've got Johnsson and Kapanen signed long-term. Matthews, Tavares signed long-term. Beautiful. You got that big core now really signed heading into the future. And who knows? Will Mitch Marner be a part of that? I don't know. I have no idea. All right? So you know what, guys? That is going to do it for this one. You guys enjoyed the video, and you guys liked the trade, mixed with a couple signings. Smack that like button. I do appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button if you guys have not already. Comment down below your thoughts on the game, your thoughts on the video, the game. I'm so used to saying that. The signings, the trade. Let me know what you guys thought about all that stuff. And quick heads up here. The podcast will resume tonight. All right? However, it's going to be a little bit different. You know, Evan's been away. He's had a lot of things going on with him, so he's been super busy, and I get that. So we haven't had time to do the podcast, so I'm going to get a guest co-host on with me today. My buddy Matt, huge Raptor fan. I mean, he's inside and out Raptors Nation all the time. Huge Jays fans. Huge Jays fan, well, at least trying to be, and obviously a diehard blue and white Leaf fan. So it's going to be a lot of fun talking with him on the podcast for our hour that we usually do with Evan. All right, so the links are in the description, guys, for the podcast channel and for the podcast itself on iTunes. Twitter is also down below. Follow up, send me DM, do all that great stuff, and I will talk to you guys. Jays Edition, they're getting their butt kicked right now by the Red Sox 6-1. We'll talk to you guys a little bit later on as we'll wrap up that crap fest. And we'll talk to you guys Raptors Edition on the 27th of June for the season review and off-season preview for the Toronto Raptors. It is going to be a doozy. I can't wait to get that out to you guys there. I think it's today's Saturday, this upcoming Thursday. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's the date. That's 27th of June. That's going to be exciting. And for the Leafs, we'll talk to you guys whenever something happens with this team, whether it be a Mitch Marner signing, whether it be another trade, whether it be a free agent signing. Well, I'll talk to you guys around the offseason, and we'll see what the heck's going to happen with this blue and white team heading into next year, because we knew changes were going to be made. We had a feeling Marleau was going to be gone. What's next? All right, so thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Talk to you guys then.